My secret, just do something that ain't nobody ever done before, but make it sound like something that's always been there forever.
Welcome to This Filipino American Life, a podcast that explores the nuanced experiences of Filipinos in the United States at iba pa. My name is Elaine Delalis, and I'm joined by my fellow hosts,
Ryan Carpio, Joe Bernardo,
and
Mike.
Producer Mike. Did you lower my...
No.
He muted it.
Did you mute my...
No, I should have made sure you didn't blow out the microphones with your extremely loud cell phone horn.
Whatever. This episode is brought to you by our TFAL, Dan Anthony Angeles.
Yeah.
Yay.
Dan Anthony
Angeles.
Yes.
You get the rap horns. Thank you for being a TPAL. And if you would like to be a TPAL and support this podcast, you can join us at support TFAL, thisfilipinoamericanlife.com, and go to support us, and it'll show you the link, because I can't remember the Patreon link right now.
Just go Patreon, TFAL, and you're fine.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, guys.
Hey. Hi.
I'm really excited.
Why?
Because we're going to talk about dinosaurs.
There are dinosaurs. There are dinosaurs.
There are dinosaurs in the park.
Are we really talking about dinosaurs?
Yes.
Cool.
Ryan never reads the show notes.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I don't. I do. No. I do.
So I really like dinosaurs. How about you guys?
Sure. I mean, I've never seen one in person, but I like the idea.
You've never been to like a natural history museum?
I mean, I have, but like, it'd be kind of cool if they're roaming the earth like today. Right.
That would be amazing.
Scary.
No, but in all honesty, I actually do love dinosaurs. Particularly when the Autobots started teaming up with the Dinobots. And I was like, this is freaking awesome. So I love that.
But like Grimlock and
yeah.
I can't remember the names of the others.
Poplock.
Dread. So I do like dinosaurs. And then I remember writing like one of those Zanga blogs when I found out that the Brontosaurus was not real.
I know, it was sad.
And I was like, who the hell lied to me when I was younger and told me that the Brontosaurus was real? Because everything, like, you know...
Brontosaurus, Triceratops.
Triceratops is
T-Rex.
real.
Well, I'm saying like those were like the common ones.
Right,
Yeah.
that's why. And then some article came out and said, actually, the Brontosaurus isn't real. It's a combination of two different dinosaurs.
Yeah, like some paleontologists
I was
got
like,
lazy.
what?
Wow.
That's terrible.
And then I think there's another article that came out later, and after that I was just too distraught. I didn't want to read any more articles about Brontosaurus. I think it's a real dinosaur now.
It is.
Like
It's but it has a different name.
yeah.
I don't know it, but
Thesaurus.
No, another name. A synonym, Joe. A synonym.
I wish there was a book for that.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
it's called Bookosaurus. Librosaurus.
So I wonder if there were Filipino dinosaurs.
That'd be... I bet there is, and we don't know. What if there's some form... Because we just watched...
Brother Dino. Mang Dino.
Manang Saurus.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Titosaurus.
Tita Terry, Pterodactyl.
Oh my God. Tita Terry, Pterodactyl. He's my new favorite dinosaur. Holy...
All right, this is totally off topic. But can you tell your Toots story?
My Toots story. What do you mean?
Toots.
Oh, my
Yeah. Your Toots.
my cousin?
Yes.
My cousin name is Toots.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope he listens to this. And then, so I've always known him as Toots. And his Facebook name is Toots. And none of us knew his real name. And he visited us here
His
in the
government
States
name?
recently. And my sisters and my dad were all like, we don't know his real name. And we're like, dude, I think his legal name is Toots, so we just call him Toots from now on. And he actually revealed his real name.
What is it?
But then, what did your dad say was his real name?
I said, "Hey, so Dad, you must know this. What's his name short for?" You see the flashlight joke.
Oh, si Toots, baka toothpick.
That was my dad's reaction, and I looked at him and I just started laughing. I had to tell Joe the story, and we couldn't stop laughing.
Si Toots,
God, love him.
short for toothpick.
I really,
dad.
really wanted it to be short for Utots.
Anyway,
I
so, yeah.
actually don't know how his name became, but he just visited and he spent a month here, and I got to show him around, which is awesome.
Wait, so did you find out his real name?
Yes. It starts with a Sir. He's a Sir something.
Wait, what?
I'm not kidding you. Like his name is man.
Sir
I can't
Toots?
believe because now I'm sort of off topic, but I can't remember his name now. It's he and his brother are both Sir something.
Oh, they did that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Is it Sir Ivan?
I forgot what it
Like his real first name
name,
is Sir
Sir.
Ivan.
Wow, throwback to the Filipino names episode where we talk about somebody named
I know,
Lady Ann.
seriously.
So this episode's about dinosaurs.
Yeah, let's go back to dinosaurs.
Sorry. So there's a dinosaur named Toots, and
And they're hanging out with Tita Terry Pterodactyl.
But I do like dinosaurs actually.
Awesome.
yeah.
Mike, what do you like dinosaurs? How about you?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think actually, in the list of the things you come up with as a little kid to like as careers is like either inventor / mad scientist, and then somewhere along the line became paleontologist, and then I realized I didn't like the hot weather, so I landed on engineer, which also didn't work out. But you know, you watched like shows like Denver, the Last Dinosaur, Transformers, Dinosaurs. So there's a lot of cartoons and stuff.
Or
Flintstones.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs on ABC, not the mama.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I watched 0 episodes of that show, but I do remember the trailer, which is like not the mama. Yeah. But I think
I think until like the movie Jurassic Park or maybe something before that, but like really understanding what like it meant to like look for dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Other than kind of just like, you know, walking around and stumbling upon like a femur somewhere.
right.
So, you know.
Well, I love dinosaurs. I'm very excited. When I go to parks and stuff, I try and look at the ground to see if I'd find like a fossil or anything.
Wow.
Because like I want to
In
see
like a
it.
city park.
Yes. I just go to like Unidad Park and I'm like, ooh, look at this leaf.
Dinosaur bones or
Is-
fossils.
Is this a fossil? It's a fossil of a McDonald's wrapper.
I've never been interested in dinosaurs.
What?
Yeah, I just never. No,
not even
never,
on the cartoon level.
I mean, I watch it, but it wasn't my favorite.
Do you not
genre.
have a soul?
For example, I prefer Jetsons over Flintstones.
Oh, so you
Really,
like the
for a
future.
historian, you like the future. Right?
That's very interesting.
Well, I don't know. I just never was interested in the animal kingdom. It's always been. Well, no, I'm just dinosaurs and
Yeah,
animals
no,
and
I get
stuff.
it.
I mean,
Joe's
there's
more
like
interested
steak, lechon.
He's more interested in the
People.
like
People.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I've never been interested in dinosaurs.
And-
I've never watched any Jurassic Park.
What?
Yeah. I've never, any dinosaur movies I've never really watched.
I love Jurassic
For all
Park.
you people out there who thinks that Joe doesn't know that people are part of the animal kingdom, that's all right. But
Did you watch Land Before Time?
I didn't.
No, I haven't.
I haven't seen it.
Oh my god, you guys have no soul.
Well, so
Well, they have no arms.
you mean they're short.
T-Rex.
T-Rex. No one can see us, but we're like making ourselves have short arms.
Well, most of our experiences with dinosaurs growing up as kids, and the reason we're fascinated by it, I think, is because of cartoons, right?
Yeah.
Like the way it's been portrayed to us is like, you know, like big and huggable. Maybe not the Dinobots, but
Oh, Barney.
you know, Barney the dinosaur is
Hated
like
Barney,
a,
though, but
you know,
Well, actually, my fascination with dinosaurs started in elementary school because the school I went to we went on field trips to the Natural History Museum every year starting in kindergarten.
Fancy.
I know. It was a very expensive private school that I was pulled out of immediately and then put into St. Genevieve. So I had great schooling until third grade. And so at the Natural History Museum, we always would look at, my favorite exhibit was the dinosaur exhibit, like checking out all the bones and stuff. So I never let it go. I love Jurassic Park. I've watched all of them, even the shitty ones. Because there are bad ones.
There are bad Jurassic Park movies.
Yeah, I mean, they're not as good. And like Mike actually read the Michael Crichton books that Jurassic Park is based on.
Yeah, my mom went through a Michael Crichton phase in like the 90s, so
Yeah.
read all the books.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually like Mike Crichton's books. I never read
Jurassic Park.
I never read the Lost World. I think I tried doing Jurassic Park.
I bet you read Congo.
I read Congo and I read Sphere. Sphere
Andromeda
was really
Strain. Anyways, this is not a Michael Crichton
I know.
episode, but still.
Welcome to the Michael Crichton episode of TFAL.
I guess the point I was trying to make is I didn't necessarily become interested like you did. Most of the time it's like, oh, dinosaurs are huge and you know,
Yeah.
awesome, big, blah blah blah.
I have a thing about like fossils in general. Like there's a game I play. It's called Animal Crossing, and a portion of the game is that you have to dig up fossils.
Oh.
And you take them to the museum where a scientist that's an owl tells you what kind of fossil it is. And that's one of my favorite parts of the game.
Right.
So I guess I always just really loved that type of stuff, but like I don't think I didn't think I could go to school for that for some reason. Cuz like in college at Irvine, they didn't have a paleontology or like archaeology.
Yeah.
Yeah, how does
program.
one get into, that as like a profession?
Yeah, I don't know.
And what does that have to do with Filipino Americans?
That I don't know. But
Why are we talking about dinosaurs on TFAL?
Because of Tita Terry.
well, because our
kidding.
guest,
Oh,
our guest
got
is
it.
named Gabe Santos,
Gabe Santos.
and he's a paleontologist.
Oh.
Oh, that's colorist right there. Because he's pale.
Throw back to a recent episode.
About colorism.
Check it out. Check out our colorism episode a couple weeks back. Thanks, Joe.
So, and he's going to talk about all these things, like the fact that he's Filipino American and he's a paleontologist, and he does something cool, like he does cosplay for science,
Nice.
which I find fascinating. And we will talk to him after the break. Hey, Mike.
Yes.
Weren't you in a like spoken word art thing in college?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it called?
It was the 5-Star Arts Collective.
5 stars? 5 stars, like how I can rate our podcast, This Filipino American Life, on iTunes?
Yeah. Sure.
Have you rated our podcast on iTunes yet?
I haven't. Sorry.
What? What's,
I don't even subscribe. Sorry.
what? Oh my gosh, Ryan,
Blasphemy.
have you subscribed?
I have subscribed.
Have you rated us
I
on
have
iTunes?
not rated on
Maybe you
iTunes.
should do that.
I will do that.
I have a 5-star Converse.
Can you rate us on iTunes too, Joe?
Yeah, of
All right,
course.
cool.
Cool. So 5 stars, like how you rate your Lyft and Uber driver, 5 stars.
Sometimes.
So you should always rate them 5 stars.
Please rate us 5 stars because the more reviews we have, the more good reviews we have, we're gonna have more. It'll be easier for people to search us on iTunes.
Correct. And it's not like the only thing will come up is how to learn Tagalog.
Yeah. So far, if you Google or if you go on iTunes and search for Filipino, we are the third podcast that you find. We want to be number 1.
We're number one. We're number one.
We do not want to be behind How to Learn Tagalog.
Oh no.
Oh, yes. So rate us 5 stars, like Mike's 5-star Arts Collective.
Or else I'll do some spoken word next time.
Oh no,
No.
Please, with these brown hands, do not do spoken word. But give us 5 stars.
Thank you.
And we're back.
Yes, we are.
We are?
We are.
I mean, I hope so. We turned off the AC and Mike's scared.
Oh my gosh.
And we are back with our guest, Mr. Gabe Santos.
Hi.
Yay.
Hello.
Whoa.
My phone's on mute.
Oh.
Corn fail.
Oh.
It's okay, but we made it through. And Gabe is a paleontologist.
Yes.
Yep, that's what I am.
And Gabe, could you go into...
You're not very pale though.
No,
You're quite dark.
I'm one of
As
the
a-
I'm one of the few ones that aren't that pale in paleontology.
There we go.
Is that why they call it paleontology?
Gosh, I hope not.
And to clarify, you said something that blew my mind right before we started recording. Could you repeat that for the listening audience?
Oh, mammals are called mammals because they have the mammary glands.
Did you know that, Ryan?
Yes.
Joe?
No. So I'm with you, Elaine.
High five!
Well, I was a
twins.
pretend like bio person.
Oh, that's true. You
Oh
were.
yeah, I sucked at bio.
I did too. Mike, did you know this?
Yeah, of course I knew that. Jeez.
Okay, and this is in reference because you are a marine mammal paleontologist.
Yeah, that's what my original research was on when I started becoming a paleontologist.
Got it.
So paleontology is not just dinosaurs.
No.
It's not just the diet. Paleo.
Oh, that's a whole other subject. I'll get started
All my
on.
questions are about this diet because I need to go on.
Ah, see, you never read the damn.
I know.
preparation
I don't
notes.
ever read the notes. Joke lang.
So paleontology, yeah. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so paleontology is the study of the history of life on Earth. So paleontology starts all the way back to like 2 billion years ago at the very, very origins of life on Earth, all the way through the end of the Pleistocene. Basically, right when humans appear, that's when paleontology kind of shifts into anthropology and archaeology. So dinosaurs are just a small, very small portion of the history of life on Earth.
But they're so big.
They are, but the mammals actually got the largest with our whales, so we beat them.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh man.
Okay.
So any kind of organisms like cells and stuff, people.
Mhm.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Okay.
The study of the history of life on Earth.
Okay. So wait.
Your history is like just a really small
totally.
piece.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, they
I
like to
study.
say like human history is like just the very, very tip of your fingernail if you're measuring time on like your hand.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. So paleontology is the study. So anthro is like the study of man.
The study of human and human evolution.
That's what. Oh, what? I didn't know that's what that major meant.
And this is why you were a film major.
Yes. Anything that required more than like UC Irvine's E3, 5, and 7 series, which was like the study of weather systems and cells. I couldn't be able to go beyond
You're an
that.
anteater too?
Yes, Mike and I went to Irvine.
Oh, me too.
Yes.
Nice.
So
All you see.
you see,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Santa Barbara. You went to the other bear school.
Go Bears.
Went to the school of the Ant Bears.
Joe went to the Gaucho Bear.
I guess so.
Well, okay, Irvine didn't have a paleontology
No.
or anything. So how did you go from whatever you were at Irvine to that?
So my paleontology story is actually not very typical. Growing up, I loved dinosaurs and everything like that, but that was just more of like a phase. As I got older and like responsibilities set in and stuff, my parents, who are amazing people, but they are like, you want to be a nurse or do you want to be a doctor?
Oh, parents, Filipino parents.
Yeah. But like for me, like I didn't really understand that like I had other choices. That was just, for me, it was just like, all right, that's what I'm going to do. So I decided to go into Irvine as a pre-med. I did the biology program there, which actually helped because paleontology is like a mix of geology and biology. So going through that, I did the bio program, I graduated, I did the MCATs, God. And I still get flashbacks from that. But like, I wasn't happy. It's not what I wanted.
Did you go to med school?
No. I started applying and I took the MCATs, but through that, like, I kind of basically had a mental breakdown.
You realized it wasn't for you?
No, like, it was a very bad time of my life. I just was not happy because, like, I love science, but I loved more, like, asking questions and, like, I love storytelling and the medicine just didn't have that appeal to me, and so I just didn't want to do it. So I quit it all.
And then how did you get from medicine and not applying to doing paleontology?
So after I quit all that, and then I was also like diagnosed with major depressive disorder and all that, and I was going through this whole like renewing of life and stuff. And so on my birthday, because I was doing much better, my parents took me to New York, and I visited the American Museum of Natural History there, right? Just because I'm a science nerd, I love museums anyway. So I'm walking through there, and they have this amazing paleontology exhibit. And at the end of it, they have this giant rhino called Paraceratherium. It's a huge rhino. It's like 25 feet tall, and it's from Mongolia. And I stood under there for like, I don't know, like 15 minutes. People must have been like, is this guy dead or something? But I was just standing under it, like in awe, just like wondering like, wow, somebody had to find that. Somebody had to like put it together, research it, and tell its story. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to work in a museum and do something like that. And so I came home and started volunteering at another paleontology collection. And then from there, you know, the curator at that museum at the time was at Cal State Fullerton looking for students when he got hired. That's Dr. James Parham. And so I applied to be his grad student in paleontology, in geology actually. And so I focused on vertebrate paleontology, and through that, and working at the last museum I was at, I learned a lot about science communication and research. And so that kind of really guided my path to deciding to be a paleontologist at a museum specifically.
So you went to Cal State Fullerton for what specifically then?
Geological sciences.
Geological sciences.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of want to, I'm curious about your parents thinking, oh, you're a paleontologist, you're not a nurse or a doctor. What, did they have a special kind of reaction, or they're just like very supportive of what it is, or what you do?
I'm afraid if she's going to listen to this. I'm just kidding. No, so when I first made that switch, they were disappointed in a way of like, because, you know, a lot of people come to America. My parents are, you know, first generation immigrant. And when they came, they're like, they did a lot to make sure we get a good job or whatever. And when I was like, I quit, they're like, no, you're not. Right. And then as I started to go into paleontology, they didn't quite understand that's a job because it's just not a thing, right, in our culture.
Right.
So it took a while for them to kind of accept and understand what my passion was. Yeah. But as they started to see me be happy and succeed in my career, they've become nothing but supportive. And it's amazing. And now my mom and dad will actually talk about paleontology, and like I hear them talk about geology, and I'm just like, I did that. And then cool. It's kind of fun because my youngest sister, she went into earth sciences too. So she's also like a geologist. So after I got in, she did sciences too. And so we're both kind of in the sciences now, cool. Which is really fun.
How did you pick paleontology? Like, I know you stood under a big rhino. What if you stood under like
that sounds weird.
I mean, like, and that kind of drew, inspired you to become a paleontologist. But like, what if you were just like standing under like a caveman or something? Like, I mean, was there something exactly about paleontology that
for me it's like
you?
Paleontology, because like my real passion of anything is just storytelling, science stories or whatever. And when it comes to paleontology, we are looking at a world that we will never see with our own eyes. We're only getting tiny glimpses, bits and pieces. And so as paleontologists, it's our job and responsibility to interpret that data and tell the story of it to everybody, right? And so with paleontology, that's like 2 billion years worth of stories to tell. And that's a lot of stories, and I want to help to tell those stories. So that's why I really like paleontology.
Is there anything that, in terms of, I love storytelling as well. Like one of my passions is storytelling. I think my dad's a good storyteller. And in the stories that you've built around your work, what has been like the most interesting that you think people should know about, like in terms of sharing a particular thing that you studied?
So for me, one of my favorite things when I first started in paleontology, I studied these really weird ass animals called desmostilians.
Desmostilians?
Yeah, desmostilians are basically, if you like think about like something that looks like a hippo, but lives in the ocean, and is kind of related to rhinos. That's what I studied. And they're these weird animals that nobody really knew that much about.
Yeah.
And they're a huge mystery. And so for me, finding out these really weird animals that look super weird. Also, they have these really weird teeth that look like a bunch of sushi rolls all stuck together.
Wait,
I
what?
heard sushi rolls.
Yeah. So desmostilians have these really unique teeth that literally look like a bunch of sushi rolls all stuck together. And so they had really weird teeth. And so I wanted to study them. And
Can you spell Desmos?
yeah, Desmostyllian.
It's Armenian.
Oh my god! Whoa! It looks like
Okay, so they're Googling these things.
we're
right now.
googling it. Sorry, and we're looking at. It looks like a giant hippo.
Yeah, but they're not actually hippos. They're more. We think that they're more related to like rhinos and horses. Oh. Yeah, they only lived in the northern Pacific, and they went extinct about like 10 million years ago.
Whoa!
Yeah, and my first publication as a paleontologist was on desmostilians.
Oh, look at these teeth! That's crazy. They look. Yeah, they totally look like Gimbap. Sorry, it's like so crazy to see. I will probably look at it to the blog post. But look, it looks like Gimbap.
Wow.
It looks like it does look like sushi rolls, but like the dentist that I go to would probably tell me that they have lots of cavities.
They actually had like some of the thickest enamel of mammals.
Wow.
So their teeth were super robust because they were eating seagrasses. Back when most of Southern California was submerged under a shallow sea.
What?
Yeah.
So we didn't have drought because we were in the ocean?
Climate change, the climate of the Earth has changed so many times in the past. So there's been times when that's actually, if you look at that thing right above your finger, that's my publication right
This
there.
right here?
Yeah.
Hippo-like creature that roamed ancient something. Here, I will send it to you. This is cool. Sorry, we're the biggest nerds.
I am so happy that you guys think desmostilians are cool. Most paleontologists don't even think they're that
Well,
cool.
first of all, I didn't even know what you said and what kind of animal that was. And then I looked it up and I'm like, this is pretty cool.
How do you spell it? Sorry, how do you spell it again?
Everyone is Googling this now.
Hey, Google
DESMOSTYLIAN.
Well, I mean, to your point earlier about like the idea of like storytelling and kind of like bringing people along kind of a journey that like they maybe don't need a whole like advanced degree program or whatever. You know, I mean, have you been able to like engage your family even in like some of the things that you've learned about and kind of like, you know?
Definitely. My family is super supportive and interested in all the stuff that I do now. They love learning about my research. My parents came to a couple of my talks too, and to sit there and listen. My parents sat through my entire master's thesis defense, and it was fantastic because like they like were super interested and like super like happy to see me defend, and it was like some real like hardcore science. So it was really cool to see them there, and so they've been super supportive and interested. And my dad's actually very science literate. He likes to ask questions about these kind of things, and so he'll always have questions for me too to ask about paleontology. And even interacting, I do a lot of online science communication, and interacting with just the audience there and the audience that I do with my museum. People love asking questions, and when they find out that the world was more than just dinosaurs in the past, there are so many animals that people have never heard of, and they have weird ass names that like people are like, the what? And then you show them a picture and like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we have been talking about the desmostilian for the past 20 minutes, and I'm like freaking out.
You could find them in ancient Glendale.
Again with a joke.
That's actually might be possible depending on what rocks are there.
In your face, Joe. You said it was a joke. It was serious.
Okay, seriously, if that exists, that's amazing. And then we should get a banquet hall named the Desmostilian. And then there should be a thing of this guy or girl or person, thing.
So I know we kind of joked about it before, but you know, as a paleontologist, you said there are a lot of pale people in your profession.
Yeah.
Right. So are there other Filipinos, other people of color in your profession?
In vertebrate paleontology, it's the diversity of our field is growing very rapidly. Back in the day, you could easily say like it was mostly male and pale, as they would joke, mostly
Male
white
and
guys.
pale.
But now it's definitely shifting. There's a lot more diversity and inclusivity that people are trying to do. I try to do a lot of work with diversity in vertebrate paleontology. In terms of Filipinos, there's like 4 or 5 of us. That
In the nation, you think?
in like probably the world.
Wow.
I don't want to say it, but I've been trying very hard to find vertebrate paleontologists in the Philippines. I've met a couple invertebrate paleontologists. Those are people who study animals without a backbone. But I have really yet to find or meet anyone, and it could just be because there's a lot of scientists in the Philippines and it's trying to find people is hard, but like there's not many Filipinos in paleontology in general.
Wow.
So like the 4 or 5 of you that do exist, are you like in your own little Filipino club?
They do their own PCN.
We took a group picture once. Yeah. One of them is Peter Close. He's up at Berkeley, and he is actually a good friend of mine.
Oh, nice.
And he is Filipino too. And whenever we get together, we have like little inside jokes
That's
that everyone
cool.
else is like, we don't understand. Like, yeah, because you're not Filipino, at least.
So because I'm thinking like if you go to these conferences, right, like male and pale, right, like that's what you'll see. So like I'm sure if you see like brown dots here and there, you're just gonna gravitate towards each other.
Yeah, like a lot of times that's kind of what happens. We form like little support groups, and it's not even just it's just kind of everyone who's underrepresented within the field. We try to stick together and really help each other out. One of my goals in the future is to eventually start a mobile museum education program in the Philippines itself to teach paleontology, natural history, and conservation from a cultural context. And then I want to inspire, and I want to work with scientists and teachers in the Philippines to help inspire perhaps a new generation of vertebrate paleontologists who are from the Philippines and who can study their own natural history and their own fossil heritage there.
Because what kind of fossils can be found in the Philippines?
A lot, actually. No dinosaurs, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Philippines didn't start to become the Philippines until about 30 million years ago. That was like way...
Put that in your book, Joe. Dude, it's so, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
to me.
it was
30 million years and counting.
It was like 30 million years after the dinosaurs went extinct, so there's no dinosaurs. But at that time, there's a lot of limestone in the Philippines where you can find a lot of really cool like marine fossils like shells and stuff like that. And then by the Miocene and the Pleistocene, so from like 25 to the Ice Age, there's mammal fossils in the Philippines that you can find. And I've heard a lot of stories of a lot of whale fossils in the Philippines, which interests me a lot. But I don't think anyone studied them because there's no interest in them. There's no scientist who's interested in them. So I would eventually like to go over there to look at them myself and maybe work with someone there, or just see what's happening there in terms of the story of the marine mammals in the Philippines.
Because what kind of mammal fossils would be there?
There was like, if I remember correctly, there's like rhino fossils from the Miocene. There used to be like different kinds of primates, lots of early relatives of the modern animals that are there. So there's things like that, like I think early binturongs and like really early versions of the mammals that are there. The Philippines has one of the greatest biodiversity in the world, right? And so being isolated as an island for so long, those mammals or those animals had to originate from something. And so their ancestors, their fossils have to be somewhere in the Philippines.
Okay, so are you, like a tarsier is like the Filipino monkey? Primate?
Yeah.
So it's very small, right?
Yep.
So does that mean 30 million years ago, there might be a tarsier that is not small? Like if they found bones, it might be like a building-sized tarsier?
Probably
Like
not.
Godzilla or something.
That would be super
Or King
cool
Kong.
to see. That would be like King Kong.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay, like a
tarsiers-
human-sized tarsier?
Probably not.
Oh,
A lot of what happens to mammals on islands is called island dwarfism. So they usually tend to stay very small because resources and space are limited. And so mammals, because we're we require a lot of energy and we're warm-blooded. If we stay small, we require less resources to survive on an island with limited resources. And anyway, tarsiers are usually pretty small, like throughout history anyway, even paleontological history.
Okay.
So you probably will find even smaller tarsiers is what you might find.
But I mean, you say like islands are they have limited resources, but an island like Luzon is huge. So like, wouldn't they have a lot of resources there?
It's comparatively. So like Luzon is still an island, so there's only so much that, and then Luzon now is like that size, but imagine when it was just forming from the hotspots, right? So back in the day, it may not have been as big. So yeah.
Wow,
So,
fascinating.
are
I'm
there-
curious about like how far you have to travel to see interesting things, or is there something like locally that you've studied here in Southern California, or do you get to travel? You know, is that part of the work that you do?
Yeah.
Is that something you'd like to do in the future?
Actually, I'm very privileged in that my museum allows me the opportunity to travel a lot for education and
Cool.
paleontology, but I don't actually need to travel that far for research. All my research in paleontology has been in Southern California. Southern
Whoa.
California actually has an amazing fossil history because LA Basin it's a basin, so it
Yeah.
fills in with sediment over time. So we have almost a continuous sequence of fossils dating back from the Jurassic all the way to the Ice Age. So we find fossils all the time in Southern California. We find whales up in the hills. We find shark teeth when they build freeways. We find mammoths and mastodons when they build targets. There's like paleontology everywhere. California is amazing because we're one of the first states to have something called mitigation. Basically, whenever they do construction, there has to be a paleontologist, archaeologist,
That's
or biologist on site.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
in case
so
you do,
cool.
in case you do
case
find
you
Yeah,
find something.
and they
Yeah.
find them all the time. Like they're doing the subway reconstruction right now in LA.
Yeah.
They keep finding Ice Age mammals all the time.
What?
So wait,
Wow.
so when that happens, what do you do? You like dig them up and take them to museums and study them?
Yep.
Like, so like they're making that subway right now, and if they dig them up, do they just take them to the Page Museum because like that's the local museum that would do? Oh my god, that's so cool.
Yeah, usually they have to like find a repository is what they're called. So depending on the area, so the tar pits, obviously they take all that stuff.
Yeah.
But like my museum, we're a repository for fossils from Barstow, and like all of those areas. We've gotten fossils from Azusa.
Could you share which museum you're at?
Yeah, so I'm
If you're comfortable.
I'm the collections manager and outreach coordinator at the Raymond M. Alf Museum of Paleontology in Claremont.
Cool. So folks can go visit you?
Yeah, we're open to the public Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, and Saturdays, 1 to 4.
Do you have public programming for folks?
We do.
Like what kind of programming?
So during the spring, we do this thing called Discovery Day. Basically, it's on Saturday event, and we have a very special theme. So sometimes we have Fossil Fest, where we bring paleontologists from all over Southern California to meet people one-on-one on the floor and bring really cool fossils for people to see. We do the mighty dinosaurs. We have a really fun one that we call Path of the Paleontologist. And it's basically a role play style event where you come and the kids get to become a junior scientist for the day, and they have to do quests from different paleontologists to learn about the different jobs a paleontologist can do. And once they do all the quests, at the end they get to enter our paleontologist guild and choose their paleontology job class.
What? Do you have to be a kid
Nope.
to do that? Okay, good.
You do not.
I'm like, I kind of want to do this.
Yeah, no, I love it when the like adults do it too, because you can still learn and have fun with it. And plus, I love Dungeons and Dragons, so any chance I get to role play, I'll do it.
That's cool. And speaking of role playing, you're also a part of something that's really cool called Cosplay for Science.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about that?
I'd love to. So, Cosplay for Science is a science communication education initiative that was founded by me and 3 of my close friends who also happen to be paleontologists. It's Michelle Barboza, Brittany Stoneberg, and Isaac Magallanes. And we're all really big nerds already outside of paleontology. And so we love Comic-Con, we love cosplaying. We love Star Wars and Disney and all that stuff. And so Brittany, who works at the Western Science Center in Hemet, she was planning on going to a local comic convention in the area, and she got a booth for her museum, and she's like, you guys should come. I was like, okay, that sounds fun. And at my museum previously, we did an event where I did the natural history of Pokemon, and I dressed up as Professor Oak, right?
No way, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was super fun. And, all the Pokemon fossils are actually based off of real fossils.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I can get into that in a second.
Oh my God.
So basically what happened is after I dressed up as Professor Oak, I realized people love talking to me a lot easier because they don't see me as a scientist at that point.
They see you as Professor
They
Oak.
see me as Professor Oak or just a cosplayer, right?
Yeah.
They see me and they can connect with me on a personal level because like, you like Pokemon? I like Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you like Pokemon? I'll tell you the science behind it.
Yeah.
And so when we were going to this other con, we're bringing our fossils. I was like, Brittany, if we're going here, we should go all out. Let's dress up as Jurassic Park characters, right?
That's so cool.
So we both in all of our museum, we dressed up as Jurassic Park characters. And after that first event, we realized people have an easy time talking to us when we're in cosplay to talk about science. So we came up with the idea of using that to our advantage all the time. So whenever we go to our cons or whatever, we build pop-up museums and we base it around a theme, some kind of pop culture theme. And so basically what we're doing is we're using these pop culture stories and narratives that people love and can relate to already and apply the science to it so that they can find the science in their everyday lives.
That sounds so cool. So when you dressed up as the Jurassic Park characters, which characters were you?
I've been both Dr. Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, me and Brittany have swapped our costumes a couple
That's
times.
so awesome. Okay, I have to go back to the Pokemon
Okay.
fossils being based on real fossils.
Yes.
Please explain.
So in the world of Pokemon, right, let's say you're going through Mount Moon or whatever, and then you find like the Helix fossil or the Dome fossil. Those are based off of real fossils. The Helix fossil is an ammonite, which is why it's called ammonite in the game. So ammonites are these shelled creatures that look like they're related to like squid and octopus, and those were around during the age of dinosaurs. Kabuto, which is the dome fossil, that's based off of like horseshoe crabs and trilobites. And then you've got Aerodactyl, which is based off of the pterosaurs. You've got Tyrunt and Tyrantrum based off T-Rex. You've got Archops, which is Archaeopteryx. Shieldon and Bastiodon, Triceratops or Ceratopsians, and then you've got all of those fossil Pokemon that you can find are all based off of real fossils. And so when we did our Pokemon Natural History Museum at LA Comic-Con like last October, we had a blast because we brought all the real fossils and we put pictures of the Pokemon that were inspired by them, and we were dressed up as Professor Oak and Professor Sycamore. And we had Pokeballs and everything. And we even had a giant Mastodon skull, right, on our table. And so people walk by and they like, okay. And they stop. We're like, whoa, wait, what? And then I'd be all like, hello, trainers. Would you like to check out our Pokemon Natural History Museum? And then they were like, yeah. And then they come in and talk to us. And then when we told them we're paleontologists, they wanted to ask us so many questions because we broke down that barrier right away.
That's kind of cool because like when we were talking earlier, we all of us were like, how do you even get to paleontology, right? Like, how do you grow up and say like, I want to be a paleontologist and really do it? Because like culturally, the only paleontologist I can think of, I mean, you brought him up, was Ross Geller from Friends.
He's a bad one, by the way.
Oh, he's a bad one.
Yeah, he's a bad paleontologist.
Why is he a bad paleontologist?
He's just the worst. He's like, well, first of all, okay, this is the most random nerdy thing, but like the one time they show him at a paleontology conference, he's not even talking about paleontology. He's talking about paleoanthropology. He's talking about like, what was it, Homo neanderthalensis or whatever during his talk. That's not really paleo. And then he talks about dinosaurs all the time, and then he brings fossils home, and like he's just a bad paleontologist.
Should have hired you as a consultant.
I know. See,
Thanks, Ross Geller.
I was like 9 when that show started. I think.
Me too.
yeah, same.
Me too.
Yeah.
99.
So I know you're not very much. You don't really study human fossils, but can you tell us anything about the new species of man? I think Lusonis something.
Yeah, that's
that
actually
they found in the Callao Cave in the Philippines.
That's super cool. When that came out, I got super excited about it because there was actually Filipino anthropologists on that paper. And so I started looking into it, and it's really cool. It looks like it could be a brand new species of human that was in the Philippines at that time.
And what time was that?
It was like late Pleistocene or something. I forget right now.
30 million years ago.
Okay.
No,
At 2:00.
At 2 o'clock.
I forget actually how old it is, but it's not that old. Like humans have not been on the planet for a long time.
Got it.
So-
I bet he was late, Bo. Sorry.
Filipino time all the way back then.
So when they say a new species of man, is it like something that predated or postdated or Neanderthals or something? Or
So a lot of what in science we kind of group things together in these things called clades, and so we're Homo sapien, right? So Homo is our genus name, and then sapien is our species. So there could be a lot of different species within that one genus. So there's like Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalensis, Homo sapien, Homo luzonensis.
oh, okay.
So
okay,
some of them are contemporaneous, which means they lived at the same time. So there are some human species that were living and coexisting at the same time. Like our species was living at the same time as Neanderthal. So
So it could be Homo aswang. Right?
Homo balanis.
well, that was one of the things I was thinking about because like when it came out, I like to study a lot about how natural history inspires our cultural stories. And so, you know, there's a lot of stories of like the duende and things like that, of the little people who live in the little mounds, right? So I was always thinking like, oh, you know, maybe that could relate to our ancient ancestors finding the bones of these little people, little
So are
human
you
species.
saying that Luzones is actually a duende?
Could be. That could be where the inspiration came from. A lot of these stories that we tell, not just in our culture but throughout history, are based around actual events. Like, so in ancient Greece, you know, there's the Cyclops, right? This giant humanoid with one eye. A lot of people now agree that was based off of ancient Greeks finding mastodon fossils, because mastodons are huge, but in the middle of their head they just have the hole for their trunk, and so they looked at it like, oh, that's probably where the eye went.
Wait, Mike is shaking his head. Did you know that?
I watch a lot of TV, so yes, I've heard this.
I watch a lot of TV
It's like one of those
too.
History Channel, like, you know, like the origins of like these mythology things, and it was like, yeah, they like mastodons. Like, anyways,
So maybe someone have found like a half of a skeleton, a fossil, and then saw like a fetus and kind of came up with the whole aswang idea.
It could be.
Could be.
Or it could be real, Joe.
That's true. There's one right there.
Oh,
Wow, girly just walked by.
Those stories used to scare me all the time when I was a kid. My grandpa and my mom would tell me them, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
The first time I went to the Philippines with them, I was like, there's no bamboo roof here, right?
I mean, they're still scary today.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm scared now.
So you also did some excavation,
Yeah.
like in your time, right?
Yeah, I've helped on a couple of excavations. The biggest one I actually did was with my museum currently. My curator, Andy Farkey, he goes to Utah in the Kaparowitz Formation out in Grand Staircase Escalante. So he studies dinosaurs. So we went out for like 2 weeks in the field and just stayed out there and worked on this one quarry where we're finding like hadrosaurs and pterosaur material and stuff like that. And then so that was like the biggest one I ever got to help on.
Oh, wow.
I've done a few like smaller day trips in Barstow with my school. My museum is actually part of a high school, so we teach high school students paleontology.
Oh, that's
so we take
cool.
our students to Barstow and we help them we give them experiences to find fossils, and so I got to help on a few.
you mean
of
we
those
can go to
trips.
Barstow right now and just find fossils?
Like, what do you mean
go
give
here,
them
right?
experiences? Like, are you planting these fossils? Like,
so
Like the fake gold panning thing you go to, and like, man, yeah.
we provide them the opportunity to do paleontology
okay,
firsthand.
so you take them to a site where fossils could potentially be, and then they can find them.
Yeah, we have sites out in the Mojave and Barstow that we've been collecting at for years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I will I will caution everybody: collecting fossils in California is very difficult, and it's illegal if you don't have a permit. If you collect on public lands or federal lands,
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so if we're like just in a national park and we happen to see like, you know, something, we can't just like take it
No.
with us or whatever, to be like,
What am I supposed to do with it?
tell the ranger.
You have to tell a ranger.
You look guilty, Elaine.
It's always best to leave it, take a picture, and then tell someone else.
I mean, I've never found anything, but wait, you found something.
What?
Remember once when we were out and you thought you found an arrowhead?
That's totally different. And I also didn't take it with me.
Is that a fossil?
It's technically a fossil because it was like an arrowhead. No,
It's not a.
So that's an artifact. Those are
I'm not a
remains of humans.
scientist.
Denied.
Fossils.
But
are
same
remains
rules
of
apply
life.
though. It's like a
Yeah.
cultural,
Okay, because earlier I was saying like I kind of wish. Well, like I am always on the lookout for like fossils
Yeah.
because I thought that's cool. Like I want to
'Cause
stumble.
you play so much Animal Crossing. That's why.
do. I
Me
play,
too.
play a lot of it, and I keep thinking like, oh, if I dig it, like if I look like long enough at this rock, like if I sweep it enough, like it'll turn into a leaf or something. But I'm not allowed to take it.
So like in some areas, it's okay to take like invertebrate and plant specimens. Like
Okay.
trilobites are fine in some areas. It really just depends. It's always better to err on the side of caution to be like, you found something, it's cool, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Leave it, take a picture, and contact someone to make sure what you want to do with
So
it
the
first.
the students that you take out, like if they find anything, do you take it with you since you are part of the museum, so you can like file it away, or do you still leave it there?
It depends.
Oh.
So sometimes some of the fossils are just too big,
Mm-hmm.
so it takes multiple trips to come back. But if they're like a single tooth or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's something that we want to study,
Yeah.
and it looks diagnostic, we'll take it. Yeah.
What do you mean like too big? Like it's a skull or like
we've found like complete. They found like complete camels and stuff out in Barstow.
Oh. What?
Yeah.
Wait, a camel?
So camels, rhinos, and horses are actually from North America originally, and then they spread out the rest of the world, and then they went extinct here.
Excuse me? What?
Camels aren't in the Sahara. They're not indigenous to the Sahara.
So indigenous now, yeah, because that's where.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but back then.
But like no, they first appear in North America, and then they spread out everywhere else.
Camels, rhinos, and
Know
what
your
else?
history. Jim.
Yeah, when the
Horses.
continents were also
Horses.
in different places.
Pangea, right? Pangea.
Well, way after that, but yeah.
A little bit, yeah. There were land bridges and stuff, so there were ways for animals to get across and disperse throughout the world.
Can't they just swim? This is just
That's how whales did it.
yeah.
I mean, but I don't think you can swim for that long.
I don't know.
I can.
So, quick question. So, have you done excavation sites in other countries?
No, I have not. I've helped to like prospect for fossils. That's basically where we walk around and look for fossils, but we don't collect it. I got to do that when I was in Mongolia last year.
So cool.
That's cool.
Did you see anything?
Yeah, I spotted a Protoceratops skull, which was amazing for me because like I've never found something like that, and I found it and I was like, mine, and I took like a ton of selfies with it, and yeah, it was really cool because we were in this place called the Flaming Cliffs, which is a famous site for paleontology. This is where they found like the first evidence of dinosaur eggs, and it's been an amazing place to find fossils for decades.
Whoa, you
And-
found an entire skull?
Most of the skull.
Most of the skull.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a picture off Wikipedia. Sorry.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
So, I mean, since you're located out in Claremont, what is the most common thing that you guys come across that you guys have, like, you know, in the collection there? Yeah.
Our collection is mostly from the Barstow. That's because that's where we take a lot of our students. The founder of our museum, Ray Alf, his first fossil find was in Barstow. So that's kind of like our home to do paleontology. So it's that one.
And it's mostly marine life or things
No,
like that?
that's all terrestrial,
Oh,
like
okay.
land animals.
Cool.
Do you ever have to deal with like indigenous land rights?
Yes. So, well, not us, because in California, where we work is mostly in federal lands. But in paleontology in general, it is a very big subject to work with on working with indigenous land rights. It's not been the best relationship for most of our history, but now with the new generation of people who are more understanding, we're trying better. We're trying to do better to do that. There's some paleontologists now who are doing amazing things with Native American youths. They've started programs to bring these kids onto to find fossil sites in their own lands and show them what paleontology is and how it connects to their culture. There's things like the Native Explorers program from OSU with Dr. Kent Smith, and they do exactly that. And there's other programs where they're trying to do better for Native American youths and introduce them to paleontology and science in general.
Are there any issues like that in the Philippines that you know of?
Not that I know of, but I'm certain that it happens.
Okay.
I mean, indigenous rights is a big thing in the Philippines, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
this kind of might be a weird question, but is there like a market or a black market for like collections like these that that you've heard about? Or
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's not a secret either. There are commercial fossil sellers. And it's a complicated subject because some of these people, they find their fossils on their own lands. It's theirs to do with, and rightfully so. And there are also a lot of avocational amateur paleontologists who go collecting and have their own personal collections. But some of them, a lot of them work very closely with museums for science, right? Yeah. And there are those who would rather sell fossils. Yeah. And, as a paleontologist, our job is to instill or to exchange knowledge with people who aren't paleontologists or aren't professional paleontologists to help them understand the scientific importance of fossils beyond the monetary. Right. And like in places like Mongolia, right, there've been hundreds of fossils that have been poached through history that have been sold illegally. The person I work with in Mongolia, Dr. Balorsisik Minjin, her whole organization she created is dedicated to repatriating these fossils, these stolen fossils, back to Mongolia, because a lot of people in Mongolia don't even know what a dinosaur is, even though some of the most amazing finds have come out of Mongolia.
Oh, that's sad.
It is, and it's a cultural and social economical thing, right? So a lot of the people in these sites, they know foreign people will pay a lot of money for these fossils. They don't know what they are.
Oh, so they'll find them. They think of it more as a transactional and like a way to make money.
Yeah, and then that's no fault of their own because that's what their focus is trying to make sure that they have money to survive.
Correct.
And so now Balor is in there trying to educate them and create new job opportunities by building a museum and doing things like that so that they can understand why it's important for science and why they are irreplaceable. When people ask me like, oh, how much is this fossil? I'm like, oh, it's actually priceless. It doesn't really have monetary value. Its importance is in its scientific value.
Belongs in a museum.
It belongs in a museum.
Thanks, Indy.
So do you. Sorry, I just watched that literally yesterday.
I was watching that like 2 weeks ago. It was just on TV, and I was like, I gotta go.
Oh, it's always on TV. That's how you know it's Saturday.
I was like, I gotta go, but I ended up being like, I'm just gonna watch this.
So, I mean, like, you're talking about like kind of getting into the field and like you started off your educational path in a specific place and then you ended up where you are now. And you've done a lot of kind of work with youth to kind of get them to understand what it is and inspire them. I mean, how would you say like you could even, reach out to like the Filipino community today? I mean, like, and get them excited. I mean, have you thought of that specifically? And I mean, and maybe even seeing more, familiar faces kind of in the field.
Yeah, that's my next big project. My eventual goal, like I said, is to build a mobile museum like Dr. Balorsisik Minjin does in Mongolia, that I can go to the Philippines and take this mobile museum to smaller villages in the mountains or in like outer areas of the Philippines where they don't have access to this kind of scientific education. And I want to go there and work with the teachers and the scientists who are from the Philippines. When I do these kind of things, I don't want it to be about like, I'm the American coming in and saving whatever. I want to provide resources to help them start this. And eventually the mobile museum will help to teach paleontology, natural history, and conservation work, so that they can look at the past to help preserve the future. And also I want to do it all through a cultural context, like teaching them how these stories of the past also may have been our myths and legends, like we were doing earlier, right? And so that's what I want to do, is if I can establish that, go to the Philippines and start this kind of program, I think it'd be helpful to create a new generation of paleontologists, conservationists, biologists, who are from the Philippines, and they can do the work because they have that connection to the land that I never will have. They have that they have that cultural connection that I don't have, and they can appreciate it differently and perhaps more than I ever will.
Yeah. So if there are any angel investors that want to help Gabe with this pop-up museum, Gabe, give them your contact info.
That's at Paleo Paradox on Twitter.
There you go. Yeah. Any last things?
Anything to plug?
Anything to plug?
Well, yeah, if anybody wants to check out my museum, it's in Claremont, like I said,
I was already getting surpassed in height by all.
Health Museum. And of course, please follow the Cosplay for Science initiative. We're on Twitter and Instagram. We have our full website. And if anybody is even interested in being part of the Cosplay for Science initiative, we are welcoming members from all over. We have other scientists now from around the nation. Like we have a chemist we have Kellen Kartub and UC Irvine. We have like Jenny Liz. We've got physicists, neuroscientists, cell biologists. We've got people all trying to join part of it. So yeah.
Great.
Well, thank you so much. This
was
conversation has been fun.
Thank you.
A lot of gasps from Elaine.
Me too.
I just really love how this conversation went because we started talking about dinosaurs because our immediately jump to like paleontology is to think dinosaur. But I feel like we've learned so much more, especially that I now know that mammals have memories.
And that means so much to me that you learned something.
And like, that's just great.
And that paleontology isn't just dinosaurs.
And paleontology isn't just dinosaurs. And that is what we'll end with today. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Gabe, for being here.
Thanks, Gabe.
Follow
pleasure.
all of these accounts. We'll put them in the blog post. And yeah. This Filipino American Life is produced by Michael Nailat. Our intro and outro music is by Roger Habon, aka 10.4 Raj. Resident reality checker Girly Colado, legal advisor Rianne Fajardo, and graphic design by Vincent Collyer.